All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Geeky Misfit podcast. I am your host, the Geeky Misfit himself, and today our guest is an artist in the truest sense of the word. Man, his resume is extensive, his skill set is extensive. He started Broadway at the age of 10 with Lion King, along with other numerous Broadway musicals. From there, he landed his most notable role, arguably, with Andre Harris in Victorious, a role that people of my generation are most familiar with you as. From there, he's worked with Robin Williams in such movies as August Rush. He went on to do Insecure. Musically, he's worked with my future wife, Zendaya, Chris Brown, Ty Dolla $ign, Wiz Khalifa, Post Malone, Babyface. Like, that alone is a stunt. And
Thanks,
to
bro.
top it off, he has a Grammy. So our guest today is Leon Thomas III.
Hey, what's up, man? I really appreciate you for running all that down. Here in the back, it's like, man, it's been such a journey. But thanks for having me today, man. I'm really excited to just chop it up.
Yeah, no problem. As I was doing like more research on you, I was literally like, wow. Like most people who have the credits that you have would not be as humble as you.
Word. Thanks, man. I mean, I think that's the key to real success. I mean, every genius that I've ever met in my life, from Oprah to Robin Williams to whoever I've really been around, even Babyface, it's just a true example of being comfortable in your own skin, of course confident, but there is that layer of humbleness that I think it keeps them grounded enough to continue to think of the great ideas that they do.
Absolutely. Now let's take it back to when you were younger. As far as your, I guess, musical background, when you were young, was your parents kind of playing, oldies in the house? Were you like on the Sunday
Well, I
mornings
had a
they play that?
very abnormal childhood, being
Okay.
that my mom and my stepfather had a club date band that they ran and played in together. So my
Okay.
stepdad was a guitarist who played for B.B. King, Missy Elliott,
Oh,
Salt and
sweet.
Pepper, like all these like New Jack Swing bands back in the day, like High Five, right? So he used to tour and do his whole thing, and then him and my mom started a band before I was born, and kept it going. So for me, I grew up backstage. I grew up, rapping cables after their shows. And, sometimes they would let me dance in the audience if, it
Right.
was like a family friendly event. So music was always a big piece and part of my home. They even built a home studio. This is in the early 2000s, so it wasn't as regular as it is today. It was a big deal for them,
Right.
and it was definitely very, very, very influential and inspirational for me as an artist and as a musician.
When at an early age did you realize you just loved music? Was it kind of just from the very beginning, or was there a specific moment where you were like, this is something I might want to do?
Man, it's in my blood. My grandfather, I mean, my first ever concert, I can't really remember it, but I was an infant. I was at a 100 trumpet salute for Dizzy Gillespie that my grandfather threw. He got Wynton Marsalis and all these jazz musicians. It's in my blood, bro.
Yeah, you've
Like
literally been around
that was me as
legends.
an infant, and coming on up, I didn't know anything other than every Friday night, going to a show with my mom, or like being backstage somewhere doing homework. So for me, it's like music isn't just something that I love to do. It's literally all I've ever really had to do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's one of those things that has been a consistent in my life, probably one of the most consistent things.
And who were you listening to like growing up that was like huge inspirations for you?
Well, I started off kind of being anti like pop music. So I was like listening to nothing but jazz, Miles Davis,
Okay.
John Coltrane, Roy Ayers. Like
That's a
I
great
even
start
started
though.
getting into like Larry Graham and like, of course Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder and Prince and Michael and Earth, Wind and Fire, like the staples of soul. But I was also very, very, very interested in jazz, because it was like one of the only styles of music that really let my brain like continue to think while I listen to it. When you listen to a soul song, you're attached to the storyline. When you listen to jazz, you can create your own universe of like storylines.
You remember how old you were, like your first kind of attempt at making a song or a beat or anything?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was kind of I was kind of discouraged from writing songs because my stepfather was so good for most of my childhood. But around 12 or 13 years old, I kind of started really tapping into my artistry and my stories. And the way I was able to do that was because of a film called August Rush. And that taught me how to play guitar. Up until that point, I was playing keys and drums and a little bit of bass, but I never really attack guitar. Once again, my stepfather was a great guitarist, so I always wanted to jam with him, not like, you know, kind of chop heads with him. So for me, once I picked up guitar, it became my storytelling instrument, and it became my excuse to write songs and to really just like put down everything I was feeling into a 3-minute record. And that was something that even backstage at all my Broadway plays, I would sit for all of the cast members. I would get everybody together and I would perform like an acoustic set, you know, at like 13 years old, just all original songs. And that all came from learning how to play guitar.
Let's talk about Broadway for a bit. So you were 10
Yeah.
when you landed Lion King.
Yeah, I was 10 when I landed Lion King. I did that for about 6 to 8 months, and they didn't renew my contract, and I completely thought my career was over. I mean, I'm 10 years old. So
yeah. You don't know what it
so I'm
means.
like,
oh my God.
Yeah, my career is over.
It.
So I'm like, okay. So I went back to school, and then I got another audition for a Broadway play that was going from off Broadway to Broadway. So they were about to open up, and it was called Carolina Change. And in that play was Nickelodeon Rose, Chandra Rhimes, a bunch of people were in it. And I got a chance, even Ben Platt, who's like a big Broadway star now, you know what I'm saying? He was in.
So you've really been
Carolina
around legends, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, that particular play was just a really great breeding ground for a lot of young talent, because it was a younger Broadway play, comparatively speaking, to the other ones that premiered that same year.
Right.
And from that play, I did that, and I went on tour with that all over the country. And I came back, and once again, I thought like, man, maybe this is kind of it. But I got Backyardigans on the Nick Jr. And then I started working again on Broadway doing Color Purple with Oprah. Oprah was producing that one. And that was my first time really getting a taste of like Hollywood, for real, you know? Because I mean, it's like you're around certain actors in New York, but you don't really get the taste of like that Hollywood energy. But Oprah definitely brought out the stars, man. Opening night was one of the craziest things. You saw like Beyonce, Jay-Z, Stevie Wonder. I don't even know he goes to Broadway play. Sting, right. Like a bunch of people were all just sitting there right in the audience, you know, and you're up there, of course, involved in the play, but you know, that human side of you still real. Them odds are real. You can see
Beyonce sitting right there.
Yo, you see them legends, man. You're like, wow. Like it's different. I was at that time 13.
Okay.
And it was just such a Broadway shaped me. It taught me, you know, all the rules of acting. It taught me, you know, how to really tap into the emotion in the moment of it and to place myself into a different place, even when I don't feel like it. You know, sometimes you'd have to do 8 shows. I mean, you're doing 8 shows a week, and around like that 6th or 7th show, it gets a little bit redundant. But I think what Broadway teaches you is the discipline of, you know, rain, sleet, you know, snow. You got to go out there and do your thing. These people paid $200 a seat, you know, like make sure they leave, you know, with a great impression.
So by the time you got to TV, what age was August Rush actually?
August Rush, I had to leave Color Purple to do August Rush.
Okay.
I auditioned for the movie while I was doing the Broadway play, and I got the role. And it was a decision to either stay on Broadway, you know, stay down that trajectory, or really try my hand at Hollywood, which I kind of gotten a taste from by kicking it around Oprah and seeing the kind of people that she was kind of working with. And you know, I did the play. I mean, I did the movie, and working with Robin was once again another transformative experience, because for me, I had no experience in improv or like going back and forth with actors. Everything I was doing was, you know, predetermined, and I had to stick to it, because in Broadway, it's a well-oiled machine. If you're like off your line, like that can throw off a chain reaction of things. So when I got to set and I was working with Robin Williams, he really taught me the art of, you know, improvisation. And the way he was kind of explaining it to me was like through Your Mama jokes. He sat there with me for 35 minutes and we had to do Your Mama jokes until I got like, until I made him laugh, until I was making him feel like,
that's, you know, a great
and
story.
I mean, it's like, it's a crazy experience for me, because you do movies, you do projects, and these big stars don't take the time to like do that. You know what I'm saying? It's not their job, or like even so that they have, you know, so for him to really like sit me down and be like, okay, this is what improv is. This is how you do it. Let's make sure you're great at it. Let's try it. Let's go back and forth. Let's go. And that was like a crash course that stuck with me for my entire career. So now on every set that I go on, like I always try to make sure I give them 4 takes of exactly what they wrote, and then after that I kind of give myself the 5th take if we take it to have some fun, maybe try something new.
Now, when you were working on August Rush with Robin Williams, were you aware like how big he was? Because I think we're about the same age, so like I was familiar with
Jumanji,
him. Yeah.
Flubber,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, huge fan. And then like after I did the movie, I started getting into Mork and Mindy, like just like searching up old episodes online, and that was genius too. That was a really great TV show he was in the beginning of his career that really like showcased all of his different improvisational like techniques that makes him the legend he was, I should say, or is. But yeah, I knew exactly who Robin Williams was. I knew how big that film was going to be, and I knew that it was one of those situations where it could really change my life. And after doing that film, I got a 3-picture deal with Warner Brothers, and I got a development deal with Nickelodeon, which gave me a record deal, and they were developing a TV show for me around that time. And similar to like the season that we're in now, all of the writers had to go and pretty much like stop writing because of the writer's strike for 2.5 years.
Right, yeah,
Kind of put a bump in the road for my career for probably 2 years because no new projects were really coming up. But after that is when Victorious came around. So things definitely.
Where were you when you got the Victorious call?
I was actually camping with we were on a retreat from my school, and I had just, gotten into high school, and we were doing this thing with the principal and all the classmates, and we went out there and we were camping, and I of course didn't have my cell phone on. There was no signal. So they had to call, my mom had to call the camp counselor type shit.
Right, yeah.
And she, pulls up on me, and I'm super excited. And I've been telling my friends for the last 3 years, if not 4 years, that I was going to be on a TV show, and they did not believe me.
Right, because after like
at
a while,
that time,
like, all right, bro, it's been like 4 years. Like,
yeah, it's been like 4 years, and I mean, it's just the process, it takes time to develop
which
the show,
they don't understand,
get everything together. But it took them really seeing that to say like, oh, damn, you really about to leave and move to LA. And it was like, yeah, all my friends, man, I had to that was that moment, and we were just kind of really defining like our real brotherhood. But I kind of had to leave from New York and come out to LA to start a brand new musical journey, a brand new journey on my career as an actor as well. And it was extremely formative meeting a young Ariana Grande and Victoria Justice and the whole gang. Like, everybody knew we had something special to give the world, and I knew that. And it's crazy to see that everything that I thought is becoming a reality.
Did you guys know, I guess, instantly, maybe after the pilot, or at what moment did you guys realize this show's a hit? Because it really was a hit when it premiered.
Man, when we knew we were going to be a part of the hit because of iCarly. I mean, Dan Schneider created iCarly, Drake and
he's
Josh,
a legend.
all that, Keenan and Kel. And not only was he at the helm of the show, this was his baby. He loved the show. So we knew that we had his energy and the entire force of Nickelodeon behind us, which was such a huge global force at that time. They still are today. But at that time, it was something different. I mean, you really didn't have the distraction of TikTok and like social media to really draw away the attention from that demographic. All these kids had was iCarly and Victorious and all these shows that were coming on at the time. So we knew that we had an opportunity to make a hit, but I think what really made it a hit for people watching it was the fact that we looked like we were really having fun, because we were like we weren't going to regular school. Like, we were going to school there on set. All the jokes, everything that felt real, came from a real place. It came from us actually hanging out after we finished filming, because we didn't know anybody in LA. All of us were from New York.
Oh, the entire cast from New York.
Mostly everybody was from New York. Victoria had been living out here in LA. She was a star of the show, and she was in Zoe 101, so she already had a house out here and all that jazz. But for the rest of us, Avin was from Canada, Vancouver. But the rest of it was from New York, and we were just trying it out, seeing what's up.
Do you have any favorite like moments or episodes?
Man, I'll say The Breakfast Club was like probably one of my favorite episodes. You know what I'm saying? We got to work with Rob Riggle. For me, once again, like, improv and comedy is like such a big part of my life, and he's such a legend. So it was cool to work with him, and they really gave me an opportunity to showcase my ability to really stretch in the comedic space. Because, coming up into the Nickelodeon space, I was kind of dealing with projects that were more based in reality, more kind of like grounded, internal acting, all in the eyes, all in the listening, But with Victorious and some of the Nickelodeon content I was doing, it was a drastic switch between, internally feeling the moment in the beats to it actually being a rhythm. And you gotta have that timing,
Now, when you were on set, I remember there being episodes where you were your character was singing. I know you were releasing music while the show was going on. Were you kind of on set telling everybody like, "Yo, I have dreams of doing this and that"? Like, what was that like?
Well, it was a very interesting experience. I met Dan Schneider before I did Victorious. I did the finale of the first season of iCarly with Dan Schneider. And I came there and I played him my original songs at 14 years old that I wrote myself, played them on the guitar, like, Tracy Chapman style. And he was real like impressed by what I could do. So coming into Victorious, everybody kind of knew I had that musical ability, and he made my character a musical savant pretty much, you know what I'm saying? And gave me the opportunity to not just perform songs on the show, but also to write them. I wrote like probably 4 songs that ended up on the TV show. And that was my first time really seeing like my music go from my bedroom to the world. And, we were playing shows for 13, 15,000 people, all over the country. And it was really cool to see like people know the lyrics and be attached to my stories.
Do you have a memory of, I guess, your first moment of recognition? I know you started pretty young, so I don't know if you could even remember, but, kind of like walking down the street or being somewhere and somebody's like, "Hey, I know you from, X, Y, and Z."
Broadway is like, you get props after the fact, but in the moment, it's a thankless job. You know what I'm saying? Nobody really knows if you're on a Broadway play. So like in the early days, I was completely just, that dude who was on Broadway, which was cool for me, And growing up in Brooklyn, I grew up in a pretty good neighborhood, but I wasn't super rich. Didn't come from a super rich family or anything. So, I definitely was keen to look over my shoulder when I'm, riding the train and when I'm moving, I just knew I'm street smart too, is what I'm saying. And when I was probably around 14, 15 years old, I started having Nickelodeon episodes being released on iCarly, Just Jordan, different TV shows. They were kind of keeping me busy while they were developing, a show for me. And it was my first time really getting noticed on the train, and this dude, like, real like thuggish looking cat, you feel me? Like the flat brim down to the eyes type vibes, you know what I'm saying? Is staring at me on the train.
You don't want staring at you for the most part.
Yeah, you feel me? So he's staring at me on the train. So I'm like, I got my keys in between my fists, just in case, you know what I'm saying? I'm like ready to fight at this point. And homeboy walks up to me, he's like, "Yo, my daughter loves you on that show, B. Keep it up, son. You know what I'm saying? Keep it up, B." And I'm just like, oh, this is a whole new world. And it just kind of snowballed from there, man. It became like, for me, being able to ride the bus and the train to school every day, to like, at a point I couldn't do that anymore. Like, I had to get driven to school just because it started getting like a little, not dangerous, but just like unpredictable. And over time.
You were still going to school.
Yeah, I was still going to regular school because, my mom didn't want me to be like one of those homeschool, like, weirdos, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, also, I was hanging around a lot of, let me just say this, growing up in Brooklyn, you're in a melting pot, but my mom wanted to make sure that I also went to a school that had predominantly, Black people in it as well, because my work life, I was really only around predominantly white people. I wanted to have experiences that came from my people as well, so that I wasn't just completely like always trying to fit in, always trying to like acclimate to something else. I needed the ability to really be able to just survive in all types of different environments. And I really thank my mom for giving me an opportunity to go to a public school in Brooklyn and really learn that, like, I lived a very privileged lifestyle, and I was very thankful and feeling blessed for the things that I had, rather than like expecting them or saying like, well, so-and-so got a Benz at 15. I need a Benz. It was like, nah, my boy is actually like just had a kid and he doesn't know what he's going to do. Like that was like my perspective coming into the world of Hollywood. So I always had a different lens when I spoke to people, or even when I dealt with fans, because I understood what it felt like to dream and to not necessarily know where that dream was going to come from.
You credit your mom a lot for kind of because as we know, being a child actor that could go left very quickly, you know, and there's a lot of cases where current day celebrities are not kind of mentally stable due to
Right.
kind of that. Do you think your mom was the reason why you're grounded and why you kind of have your head on your shoulders?
Yeah, I mean, I already got a big head, so she was just making sure I wasn't
Yeah,
like,
she
what
was
I'm saying,
more
too
bringing you
overly
down. She was like, all
confident.
right,
She was
yeah.
definitely very real with me, which was really cool. But I think I was such a cool kid, man. I really wasn't trying to talk back too crazy or even like try to shake the boat too wild. I felt like for me, I had a vision. I had a vision of moving my family from Brooklyn to LA, sunshine every day. You know what I'm saying? My sister going to private school. I was able to do that. She just graduated high school. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to be able to support them in ways that, I knew that they were having trouble doing. As musicians in New York, it's not an easy gig. And it's very helpful to have a mother and even a stepfather and my biological father as well, who really, help just preach to me as well. My biological father is very dipped in, Christianity and was very influential in just making sure that I understood the moral code as well as, what I had to do to be famous and liked by the world. So I think I always was looking over my shoulder and making sure I'm not, leaving too much bad karma out there in the world, man. So that's just been my experience. And both my mother and my father were very influential in building, those principles within me.
With you saying that your father is Christian, are you? I don't know if you're a religious person, but me myself, I'm a God-fearing man. Do you thank God for the accomplishments? How much do you
Oh,
incorporate God
yeah,
into your daily
yeah.
life?
I
Yeah.
mean, this was all an exercise in faith. It was all an exercise in the ability to manifest and to be able to see something and truly believe that I was working with the power bigger than all the men around me to get things done. And, you know, not to dip too deep in it, I don't want to start preaching, but it's just
Go
like the
take
reality of it
everybody to church,
all,
bro.
though.
Go for it.
The reality of it all, though, is that there are all kinds of energies on this earth. And regardless of who you believe or how you channel whatever energy that you channel, you have to know that, it's very important to stay focused on and, in business with the light. You want to be attached to projects that have that light, that have that glimpse of hope. And I've been blessed to be a part of projects that I know have touched people in more than just ways that are entertainment, doing roles like Detroit and being involved and being able to recreate, moments like that to show people exactly what was going on and how much things haven't changed since the 1960s. Um, that's the kind of work that, we all have to do as Black creatives to really push the needle forward.
Let's talk about Detroit for a bit, actually, because I'm a filmmaker myself. Catherine Bigelow is one of my favorite filmmakers. So, what was the experience like just working with her? I was watching a ton of interviews when the movie was coming out. How intense it seemed.
Full blown genius, bro.
Yeah,
Like she's a full blown genius. For her, a lot of directors, I watch them run around a set anxious,
yeah.
nervous,
Mhm.
kind of just agitated. They try to express themselves as much as they can, but they have so much going on. You always feel that weight as an actor speaking to a director right before a scene. But with her, the difference was she almost had this, like, it's hard to explain, but almost like this creator type energy, which was, I need a car over here. I need a blown up car over here. Actually, no, let's have a tank coming down, right? It's just like she was creating this world and really being the puppeteer she needed to be to create these moments and to get these moments out of us. It wasn't about acting. It was about reacting in the moment. And sometimes she would have stuff blow up that wasn't in the script or that wasn't planned, so she could get a natural reaction out of us, so she could get something real to play with. And I'm really thankful for the experience to work with her and to see, just how these huge budget films are made, man. I mean, I've done some big budget films before, but nothing like this.
Do
It
you
was it
have
was super different.
any, I guess, dream big budget film? Like superhero movies are very popular right now. Mega blockbuster franchises. Do you have any kind of franchise that you would love to be a part of or start?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it'd be really cool to do like a superhero film, but I feel like that's getting to the point where it's like there's like so many. I'm not sure how influential it would be. I want to be a part of the next big Independence Day, the next big like alien film. I think that would be like really influential right
Yeah.
now, especially with everything that's going on. Um, and who knows, like if it'll come up, if the right script will just pop up. But I think there needs to be one, and hopefully somebody does it justice. You know.
Mm. Yeah, they made Independence Day what, a few years ago, I think. Resurgence
Yeah,
or something like
yeah,
that.
they
Yeah.
did. They did a remake of that, but I'm saying, even if they like the same style of just like big alien films again, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because there isn't any popular one as far as the franchise right now. So
Yeah, you think
yeah.
about it. Yeah,
That's a lane that you could just, go right into that. That'll work,
come on now. Yeah.
Um, and you also you did Insecure. I binge watched Insecure. I'm super late to Insecure, and I
It's
live
all
in
good. I
I
get
live
it,
in
brother.
South Central, and people were like, "You have to watch it. It's your type of humor, the type of writing you do.
Yeah.
You're gonna love Insecure."
Oh
So I
yeah.
finally binge watched it a few months ago. Loved it. So when you popped up, I was like, "Oh, hey, look! How different was that for you? Because you're coming from where most people are familiar with you as Andre Harris with the Nickelodeon show, and then Insecure, where you're doing sex scenes, with like Issa Rae and stuff. So
I'm smoking weed. I'm doing
yeah,
sex
all
scenes. It's
all
like a
types of stuff.
whole.
Yeah,
It was a whole switch up, but for me, I welcomed it with open arms. I was like, yeah, let's go. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? I mean, I'm a young black male, and I was also like out here, doing music with Post Malone and Drake and Ty. So I'm like, I'm partying, I'm having fun too. So it was a great experience to like be able to kind of like be a little bit more of myself on camera and have some fun and really showcase exactly the progression of who I am as a human being. And even as an actor, I think she really gave me a chance to stretch, and I was improvising a lot during that particular experience, which was really cool and fun. She always let me fly, which was cool. So I respect Issa, man.
yeah.
I love what she's got going on, and I recently just watched the last season. And she's got a lot going on. I love it.
Man, yeah, her and Molly. I don't know what's gonna happen, but they
Yeah,
got
we'll
their
see.
little tension happening and stuff.
Yeah,
Moving into your more of your musical background, you've worked, like I said, with legends, with current day, Zendaya, Chris Brown. Did you say Drake a second ago?
yeah. I did
Didn't
Gold
even,
Roses
yeah.
for him and
Wow.
Rick Ross, and we got nominated for Best Rap Song last year.
Yeah.
So it's my second time being nominated for a Grammy. We didn't take it home. We lost to J. Cole, but much respect to the brother. He definitely
J.
deserved it.
Cole's my favorite rapper. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yo, J. Cole's a man. But I've been working with Drake this year as well on his new album. And I've been working with a lot of different artists. And me and Ariana are kind of back working again as well. And a bunch of different people are just like, coming out of the woodwork. I got a record on Amine's new project as well. So just look out. I got a bunch of stuff coming out in that space. I'm also working on my artist project. COVID is definitely slowing a lot of the moves that I was making for this
Yeah.
year down
Yeah.
on the artist independently, on the artist stuff. But I'm still excited to put stuff out, even if it's at the end of this year or early next year. So we'll see.
Do you have any, I guess, favorite experience working with any artist, whether it be a moment or just their vibe or the song itself, or
Man, let me see. I think an experience that is always gonna just really hold a special place in my heart was working with Ariana on her first album. Because you got to understand, I was going to every studio session, really singing this girl's praises, and people weren't reacting like I wanted them to. I wanted them to just get up. Let's make this move. Let's make this happen. And everybody saw the hue of Nickelodeon and couldn't really see what I saw, which was her ability to have vocal range and the fact that she was connecting to an audience, not in a superficial way, in a real way. They were real fans. I mean, die hard, like crazy fans that I don't think the world even really knew about at that time. But I had the first, front row seat to it all. So coming into it, she talked to me a lot about like song concepts and working on records with her for it was such a gratifying experience because it was me really watching something go from when I met her, she had 4,000 followers on Twitter, and today I think that's now
wow,
25 million.
she's the most
So
followed woman on Instagram, right? I mean, yeah,
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 so it's like to see that happen, bro. Like from 5,000 to 25
yeah,
million is the craziest thing to
crazy,
watch
yeah,
happen, and even to be a part of it musically. Like I remember the first time going to a stadium and hearing my song played and sang back by every soul in that audience was like a crazy feeling. And it definitely put a battery in my back when I started working with a lot of the like urban people I was working with and urban artists, you know, just trying to build something different. You know, I felt like, all right, I did some pop now. All right, now let me see if I can really, you know, get some stuff that's playing in the clubs. And it took me a while, but I found a formula, man, musically speaking, that has put me, you know, miles ahead of a lot of the competition.
And I think as I was listening to your music, I think what's great about it is it's not necessarily defined by a genre. I think
Nah.
it's very broad. You could tap into a specific genre if you want to, but it is very versatile, which I think is
Man,
great. And
thanks,
is that done
bro.
intentionally?
Yeah, most definitely. You know, I'm a walking melting pot. You know, coming from New York, coming from all types of different, you know, cultures and like really being interested in all kinds of sound. You know, I think that's definitely reflected in my abilities as a producer. And I love that whenever I'm on an urban project, like that's that one record that you're like, oh man, I didn't expect so and so to do that over that. I mean, I'm working with Kodak Black, and it's like I got like angelic, you know,
Yeah.
choirs in the background with guitars and bass, live bass, and you know, I'm like giving Meek Mill like a rock vibe on a record with MIA, getting people like different artists together to create new formulas. That's the only way we're gonna, you know, continue to push music and keep all of the appropriators away from our sounds. If we
And
don't
yeah.
continue to create new sounds and new music, it gets taken from us, and then we gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's very important that we continue to create and own what we do. So, you know,
Definitely
for me
own.
right
Yeah.
now, I'm independent, so I've been just kind of like really focusing on ownership and on just different ways to kind of cultivate all the relationships around me to make all the moves that I want to have happen. But it's just retaining that ownership, seeing, you know, my brother Nick go through what he's going through with Wilding Out right now. You know what I'm saying? Of course, he had, you know, his wrongdoings with some of the rhetoric that you know he was spitting. But I will say that a big piece that I think everybody's missing is that he created that brand. He put that together. He connected the dots, but doesn't necessarily have 100% ownership of it. And it's just the price that we pay to have the platform.
And he should. I mean, when you think of Walden Out, you think of Nick Cannon. Like
Exactly.
he
Yeah.
made the show. It's not
He
something
made the
where like,
show.
oh,
Yeah.
we're going to
It's not.
replace you with. You can't replace. You could bring in a quote unquote bigger star, but it's still like not going to like be the same. No one's
Hold
going to
this.
vibe with it.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to hold its weight without him. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's just tough being a creator. I mean, you need budgets to get amazing, mind blowing things done. And sometimes with those budgets comes, you know, leverage and things you got to give up. So I mean, we'll see where, you know, everything goes, man. But I've known Nick Cannon for a long time. I'm a big fan of what he's been able to create. It's just unfortunate that, you know, he had to go through this right now, and that
Yeah.
just, you know, this misunderstandings, man, like people trying to explain things without necessarily having the script right in front of them sometimes can lead to a lot of misunderstandings, man.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with the world right now, kind of with everything that's happening, just a lack of understanding. Like if everybody just really kind of just tries to understand both sides, you know, then the world will be a much better place, especially with this situation.
Yeah. I mean, a nice injection of empathy, I think, will really help just push things forward. I think right now we're at a very focused time. It's interesting to see that there's so much truth coming to light, so many like hidden secrets and hidden moments being highlighted by the very thing that's given us freedom, which is the internet. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the cancel culture progresses and what it evolves into in the next 5 years. And I hope it continues to be as progressive as it is today. But it's looking to me like it could potentially have negative attributes if we don't control the narrative somehow. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah,
sometimes it just
absolutely.
gets like the snowball effect of, you know, cancel him. He's
Yeah,
done. Like, it's
and
like,
it's
whoa,
getting a
hold
little
up. Like,
wild. Yeah,
he's a human being. Like, can we talk about it? Can we like really figure out the
yeah.
perspective? Like, what's going on? But you know, we'll see where things go, man. I just know for me, and you know, just the best way to do it. You know, I've never been the kind of person to be on Twitter like so and so did da 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 or this and that.
Smart. Yeah,
I just think it's just
smart.
lead
Yeah,
by example. You know, like really show people exactly what you want changed, and it's just that little movement that can help inspire somebody to, take the next step.
How do you feel with cancel culture, with like the way, like a person could tweet something in 2010, right? And then the tweet's brought up today, and the person could be a very different person. They could be changed, but based
Right.
off of that tweet, they could potentially be canceled. And there's been situations where it can be deserved. I'm not necessarily a judge to the person to say that it can or
Oh, for
can't
sure.
be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just such a weird thing. Like, can there be forgiveness? Can a person grow? Or, it's sort of like a weird fine line that we're walking.
Well, it's tough. Comedians have always been praised for having a alternative perspective. That's what made Richard Pryor great. That's what made Eddie Murphy amazing. That's what made Dave Chappelle the trailblazer that he is today. And I think, Nick Cannon, coming from that line of comedians and trying to kind of just say the thing that gets the most rise out of people, can definitely be a tough line to walk. I mean, you've even seen Kevin Hart get into trouble for similar situations. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the cancel culture, but I see it for its greatness in other ways. I mean, it's just like the airplane. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think about it, it can get you from where you need to go, but it can also mess up and kill a bunch of people, So
Yeah, that's a great
it
analogy.
has
Yeah.
both like positive and negative attributes. But I personally, as somebody who's completely into positivity, man, I'm always trying to look at the positive attributes and seeing companies being called out for making racist clothes or doing something to their employees or even to the clients that come into their establishments, is a great example of how cancel culture could help, correct some of the things that are seen every day but not told to the world.
How do you feel about? I mean, because they're making certain changes that I feel like are changes we're not asking for, whether it be kind of like the Aunt Jemima on the box. I'm also kind of feeling, and I'm so curious with like a lot of voice
Yeah,
actors, right?
yeah,
They're voicing characters like black characters and characters that
yeah.
the actors
That's
aren't
that's been
black,
happening.
right? And it's I see kind of arguments on both sides where some people are like, oh well, I actually like the voice of Cleveland, so should we then get a black guy who can do a similar voice? Should it be a whole different voice? People just kind of, it's kind of an in between thing. Do you think they should be voiced by the same race? Or
Man, I just feel like we are fixing everything but what we were asking for.
we've been
Like,
asking, like, please arrest
nobody
Breonna
asked
Taylor's
for y'all to
killers. Yeah,
paint
like
Black Lives Matter on people's streets. Like, we been had Martin Luther King Street in every hood. We been had Malcolm
every
X Street
hood.
in
Yeah,
every hood. Like no, like that's not what we're asking for. Like, I don't care about Aunt Jemima. I do not care about these
at all.
voiceover actors. They're just getting bread. Like, they're not doing anything racist, if you ask me. But I
Right.
will tell you this much: they should be giving those jobs to black actors.
Mm-hmm.
I even feel that way about a lot of things in Hollywood. A lot of roles that I feel like should be given to the people that represent that community. Why are you having? I mean, it's a beautiful thing that actors can transform and find ways to embody different characters. But I think there's so many people who want a foot into Hollywood who just don't have the access, and that's all due to the fact that they're giving a lot of these roles to people who aren't from that space, who can't even really tell that true, authentic story. They do their best, but I'm just hoping that we get the change that we're genuinely asking for. But the problem is, I think we all want it to happen in one fast sweeping motion, but I think that's the very thing that all of our ancestors had to go through. The the fact that a lot of this is going to have to happen in baby steps. I mean, if we're genuinely going to move through the system of democracy, it's just going to, that's just how I've seen
Yeah,
it
it's gonna
happen
take some
in the
time. Yeah.
past. I mean, that's just kind of how, historically speaking, how I've seen it work and happen. But I think we're definitely at the precipice of change right now. We are definitely getting to that point. You're seeing that it's not just happening here in the States, but it's happening all over the world, brother.
Yeah.
And
London, everywhere.
people are
Yeah.
tired of being controlled and not told exactly what's going on with the moving pieces in this machine. And I think we're seeing a reaction, and I hope that genuinely everybody who's out there protesting, everybody who's out there, tweeting every day also shows up and mails in that vote. You know what I'm saying? Because that's going to be a very helpful process if we're genuinely going to move through the channels of democracy. We gotta participate, and I know it's going to happen this year for sure.
Now this next question is just a bit for my own personal thing. How was the experience working with Zendaya?
Oh man, Zendaya is like so cool. I've seen her grow up, really. Like, I met her when she was like 14. We were both doing Nickelodeon. She was doing Disney. And her dad is like really cool, very outspoken, confident man, real cool. And over the years, I've been just kind of cool with her, and to have the experience to work with her was amazing because I could just see how much stuff she was juggling. Like, she was preparing for the Spider-Man movie at the time when I was working with her, and doing, a shoot for Vogue, and then the next day. And, a lot of people love to commend creators who can balance so many different things, but I know how stressful that can be. And just to see how calm and focused she was just showed me that, she was built for this. She was born for this.
I just started this podcast. So what I'm starting to do is, I think every year I want to have kind of like a dream guest, I guess, or a guest that I really want to have on. So she's my my current dream guest.
Hey man, I think it's super possible. I think the best way to do it, very helpful way, be to reach out to her dad. Her dad obviously has her ear and controls a lot of her schedule, and I think he definitely support everything you're doing, man. Okay, I know I did when I saw the the trailer that you kind of put together, man. I was like, this brother's really working, man. I'm just down to support anybody who's out here trying to build something, especially during a time like this, man. So just I feel like if we can all find ways to come together, it's just always gonna help, in the long run.
No, absolutely. Before I let you go, man, because I know you are busy.
Yes, sir.
We do a thing called rapid fire questions. I'm gonna ask you a few questions. Try to answer as fast as you can. The first few questions aren't that important, so you try to answer them quickly. The last three questions, you can take your time. They're a bit deeper.
Cool.
All right. Batman or Iron Man?
Iron Man.
Introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
Super speed or super strength?
Super speed.
Phone call or text?
Phone call.
Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
Pre-COVID, big party or small gathering?
Big party.
Best advice you ever received?
Never compromise to be recognized.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that is great. What's one thing you want to change in the world?
Hunger. There's too much food out here for people to be hungry.
If you can give yourself, a younger version of yourself, advice, what would it be?
Trust yourself.
Good. I'll agree. I felt like all your answers somehow helped me as well. So
that's dope, man. Hey, that's fine.
Yeah. Appreciate. You know what? Actually, before I even let you go, because as you were talking, you mentioned possibly being part of a superhero project. Have you seen Static Shock before?
Oh, of course. I mean, Static Shock was obviously like one of the superhero roles that I always wanted to do. I heard they were gonna do one with Jaden Smith a long time ago, and then they kind of just fell through the cracks. So I mean, if it's still around, I would love to play Static Shock. I feel like I would get the perfect energy.
Yeah, I think you would. So we gotta make that happen.
Yeah, man. We'll see. I'm ready for it.
We'll see. Again, man, I appreciate you coming by. Once we kind of COVID is over and we have like our studio stuff, you can come by if you want, chop it up with us and stuff. So
I'm down for sure, man.
Appreciate
Thanks for the opportunity, man. You have a good one, my brother.
You too, bro. Take care, bro.
Bye.